We are live. We are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in this crowded world we live in. Welcome to the May edition of Our Addicts.
Sorry, there's a feedback. Somebody needs to.
We should be good.
Uh, do you want to go ahead again? Let's see if
Start
it
over
works.
again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to the May edition of the Power Addicts Hangout. This month, we have a lot of good stuff for you. If you missed last month's Power Addict Hangout, we have the link and you missed some really good information. But I'm glad you're here today. So before we get started, let's go ahead and give a chance for all of our addicts to introduce themselves. And we'll start with Vivek.
Hey, hello everyone. Thanks for joining again. This is that API guy slash Vivek Pavishi. Happy to join again, and looking forward to the sessions today. Keith.
Keith.
Hello. It's Keith Walling. Hi everyone. I hope you're all good.
Beautiful. And we have Gisa.
Hey everybody, this is Geeta and I am super excited for the stuff we have lined up today.
Beautiful. And not last but least, we have Abe.
Hey guys, this is Abraham. Abe, really excited and really happy to join us and be part of the Hangouts for tonight. So I'm actually finishing my 10th app in a day today, so I'm really excited. I almost lose my voice. I've been talking for 8 hours, so I'm really excited and very happy. So I'm going to be quiet today, but thanks for joining in. Welcome everybody.
Cool. So let's go ahead and get this party started. So our first guest on Power Addicts Hangout is a guy who I have followed on followed on Twitter for a while. Crazy products and great blogs and information. I'd like to introduce Mariano. How are you, sir?
Hey, Mariano Gomez here. Thank you for having me over this particular hangout. I've been a Microsoft MVP for 12 years. Just started dabbling into the Power Platform and understanding the different ways that I can leverage it in our particular industry segment, which is enterprise resource planning applications. But thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Great. So what are you going to show us today?
Well, couple things I want to talk about first. I want to talk about the nice things that I saw at Build, at Microsoft Build conference. I was there last week. And I am going to show you a couple cool stuff that I've been working on with components. I think, hopefully that will round out the list of things that I have. And let's start with Build, because I think Build actually brought some really interesting content as it relates to Power Apps in general. One of the things that I don't know if you guys, I'm going to share my screen here for a second. And your face might come up here, Mr. Anton, but I'm going to switch over here quickly. So one of the things that I don't know if you guys have been following is the ability to embed Canvas applications into websites and other services. And there are, a couple blog articles out there, but I think what I saw at Build was even more radical than just, taking a URL and putting that into a website. In fact, I've done that with our Microsoft Dynamics GP application and the web client, but Microsoft topped it up a little bit, and they created this kind of Power Apps Embedding SDK preview. And for this, you actually got to go to experience.dynamics.com/insider. And once you sign up with your either Microsoft account or organizational account, you type PowerApps embedding, there is a complete SDK that is now available for you to, take it up to a little bit. And I'm gonna kind of walk you through what I saw. So there was basically this React application, this React website, or this website built on React, and the concept is now you can embed the PowerApps experience inside your application, but furthermore, you can customize your application with PowerApps. So no longer do you have to have, these custom design sessions with your client. They can actually use PowerApps to customize applications that you have delivered using any of these particular technologies, whether that's React or your preferred programming environment for websites. So I found that to be mind-boggling because it goes beyond just embedding a Canvas application inside a website. Now you can actually use the PowerApps platform to customize your environment. So if you are actually taking note, please go to experience.dynamics.com/insider and just do a quick search for PowerApps embedding. You will see the PowerApps embedding SDK preview pop up. You gotta basically activate the program, but once you do that, you're able to get into download and look at the material that's presented there. So that, to me, by far one of the best sessions that I attended. I don't know if any of you guys have any questions there. If not, I can jump straight into the demos that I had for today.
And can we take a moment to recognize that Power Platform was mentioned by Satya in his kind of keynote? What did you think about that?
Again, guys, it seems if there's only two things I had to take away from Build, that would be two words in particular: AI and Power Platform. Power Platform is becoming the overall experience, the unique experience for customizing just about any Microsoft, any Microsoft type application. So whether that's AI that you're using, whether that's IoT, those experiences are actually converging all into PowerApps as a platform for customization and user experience. So I can't say enough about how this all started. Obviously, the Dynamics platform sort of had the XRM tooling, and that sort of evolved into your model-driven applications. Then you have the Canvas components or the Canvas side of the house. I think those lines are going to start blurring even more, and you're going to not have this distinction between whether it's a Canvas app versus a model-driven app. I think that's going to all converge eventually, and all you're going to have is a Power Platform environment for customization of any type of Microsoft solution that is delivered to customers. So I found that just mind-blowing, and the fact that it was mentioned front and center at the keynote delivered by Satya, I think was even more reassuring.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, let's jump onto your stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think we are just at the point where learning this stuff and growing with it is just all exciting for everybody on this call, and I'm sure for all of everyone that's listening to us today. Okay. Any other questions you guys have there? Or
there was a question on the chat. So I think this was related to the insider stuff that you talked about. So this was a question from Christine. So she asked, is it any environment, preview, production, etc., that can be customized?
So I don't have the details as to what can or cannot be customized, because as you can tell, it's just basically an experimental public preview feature. I don't know what the the extent of what you're going to be able to customize is going to be. But for sure, you know, from what was presented, there are already pilot programs and pilot environments that are in the process of using this technology and using PowerApps embedding as a way to deliver the overall user experience on, you know, on other websites or other environments that are not necessarily PowerApps, you know, that don't start necessarily as a PowerApps application.
Do you think that's what SharePoint looks like, with that little weird question mark with the SharePoint embedding? I mean, I'm sort of wondering whether that's going to be the kind of experience we're going to see. Correct.
So now translate that into, or extrapolate that into being able to do that for just about any site or any application that you build. Obviously, I'm sure it's going to have to follow certain patterns, design patterns, but you know, take that to that level. That's how impressive this is becoming.
Wow, so that's kind of like, so when you're saying any website, so are we talking about like, so this is going to be only internal business websites unless they decided to share PowerApps as a thing outside of an organization? I mean, that's like the number one ask, isn't it? So
that's mind blowing to me. I mean, one of the there was this gentleman who presented one of their particular cases, and they're in the banking industry, or let me just say more concretely, financial services, which is broader, I think, than just banking. But one of the things that they were presenting was the fact that in their particular industry, just the compliance aspects of applications and everything that you deliver, it takes sometimes months, even years to get get the regulatory part done. So what they did was they created this platform that that certainly provides and takes away that hassle of you having to go through all the regulatory aspects of it. But if you want to leverage their platform, you can leverage that in PowerApps, and they showed a complete demo on how to do that, and also the embedding experience that they were already building in their banking or financial platform as well.
Wow.
So
that's a bit mind blowing.
Yeah, it's mind blowing. Yeah, it's mind blowing, and I think it's one of those things that, you know, we just gotta keep an eye on. So if any of you have really the inclination of starting to do some research, just sign up for the Insider program, and you know, you also have to go through some legalese that they present before you can sign in. But you know, at the end of the day, once you're in, you have access to just about anything related to the SDK. And they have a whole bunch of samples. I just want to wait till I can sit down on a weekend and just go through this stuff and see what's in there.
Well, I know what I'm doing this weekend.
Yep, there you go. Any other questions?
So much thing, too little time to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, on the same boat.
It's all a matter of time, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Really excited about that. You know, and what you said, that was actually extremely true about, you know, PowerApps, Canvas apps, and model driven actually being merged and be embedded. And, you know, I think that next year, this time, we're going to see that really big push from the dynamic side to actually move into the Power Platform. Right now, we've seen, you know, the SharePoint people actually moving because, you know, the InfoPad is actually been deprecated, but we haven't seen that much into, you know, the Dynamics world. You know, right now they're still behind and still actually looking into the new UI that they have, you know, all the new applications and all the benefits of the new applications, but they haven't actually looked into deeply into the Power Apps or even Flow or even, you know, model driven applications. So that, I think, you know, you're right. You know, we're hoping that this is actually coming very quickly, so all the Dynamics people can enjoy the benefits of the Power Platform too.
Yep.
I
totally agree.
Like, it scares me a little bit because if you're looking at it from an organisation, and like the organisation I work in, and you're thinking to yourself, right, ALM isn't quite there yet with PowerApps, and it's kind of, you know, not even the comment field works on the versioning, and it's kind of right. Like now we're talking about sticking it out on the web, which needs a whole ton more of work putting into it to make sure that thing works in terms of version control and stuff. That's a bit, I don't know, man. It feels like it's going to be a whole heap of work. So fingers crossed they've got that on their backlog somewhere to get that sorted out. Certainly at the same time as this thing's happening, because otherwise it's going to be a headache and people are going to get
certainly. It's just impressive the amount of work that the Power Apps and certainly other Microsoft teams are cranking out at this point, just to make this convergence possible. It's just mind blowing, as you said, Keith. Yeah.
Definitely. Let's show us some demos, man.
Okay, yeah, well, we extended a little bit on that, right? Okay, so I am going to walk you guys through a couple things that I've been working on as of late. One of them, it's basically around components. And the first demo that I had was the ability to componentize a numeric up and down control. I know it doesn't sound too much, but this one has a particular thing about it. This numeric up down control is persisted. So the press is persisted on the up or on the down buttons. And there is a trick to that. But before that, let me talk about this particular component. Basically takes a default value that you can seed for the you know, to start out the up down count. You have a minimum value, a maximum value, and a sensitivity. Sensitivity is just the speed at which you want the up or down values to change, and certainly it outputs the value as a property from the control. So, but the secret here is in this timer. So I'm just gonna make this visible again, and this particular timer has a if you look at the on timer end property, right? Basically, all this is doing is it's taking and evaluating whether the current value is greater than the numeric up down max that was passed in, and then if it is, it sets the numeric value to the maximum. So it never allows it to go over, and likewise it does for the minimum value. So it doesn't allow it to go lower than the minimum. But when you start it off, it basically then checks for the button press event, the button up press event and the button down press event. So once it does detect that the button was pressed, it will then start to increment the value itself. And that is all done based on the sensitivity that was passed in that I use as a parameter for the duration of that timer. So if you want to put this in practical use, I'm just going to hide this again. Okay. And then I'm going to switch over to this screen, and this screen is nothing more than a test harness for that component. So I brought the component over to the to the canvas itself. I added a few of the parameters that I wanted to control, and here we have the output value. So if I play this up, initialize this thing, and all you're gonna see me do is press this constantly here, right? So if I press this, you can see the counter start just going up to whatever maximum value or up to that value. Likewise, if I press it down, it will start reducing that value, but I don't have to remove my my finger from the control itself, which is pretty good, because think about you having to do this on a mobile device. If you had to press several times that button, chances are your application is going to become very, you know, somebody's going to get tired of it pretty quick, especially if you have large ranges of max and min that you have to go through. And if you see me decrease the sensitivity here and I play this up, then it starts to move a lot faster. If I move it up, then it goes slower, of course. So there are ways to control that. So I found that to be a pretty good sample of how you can use components, and that's just one example. By the way, if you're interested in this particular sample, this one is loaded on the Power Apps community application gallery. So the apps gallery, you can just go there, download it, take a look at it, even improve it if you want. The other one that I had was something that happens very often is I need to perhaps put a map on a particular app, right? So I was playing the other day with the MSN weather um, control or connector, and I figured, okay, well, if I want to pass in the latitude and longitude of my device so I can get the weather for that particular area, then I need to have, I wanted to reflect that as well on a map. Well, I like Google Maps. You can do this with Bing. I'm sure you can do it with any other sort of map provider. But I like the Google Map API. So what I ended up doing was I componentized the map, because what I noticed that most people end up doing is they actually end up formatting a string with with the address values or the latitude or coordinate values, and there are a host of inputs and outputs that you can play with that particular API. So as I said, one is the latitude, the other one is the longitude. If you have access to the Google API, you obviously have an API key that you want to pass in. You want to probably perhaps play with the map zoom and the map image width and height as you format it on your application. So those are all part of the component. And the only thing I did here was I added an image to this particular component. Sorry, and as you can see, then it's all parameterized based on the input values that were passed in. So the result of that is, if I actually look at this application here and sort of play it, you can see now that I can easily pass in those formatted values. I can change any of the parameters here. Like for example, here I pass in the component. This is the component, the location map itself, and I'm passing in the API key. I'm passing in the latitude, the longitude, as as read on the device. I'm passing in the zoom value, which I can control through the slider, the width itself. So whenever I decide to extend or contract this, I don't have to go back and redo my string or re-encode my URL. The component does it all for me. So very, very succinct use of components. But the more I play with components, it just seems like the sky is the limit when it comes to what you can do. And those are the two examples that I had. Again, this is one that I'm going to publish on the Power Apps community. That should be out next week. I want to do a couple other additions to that. The MSN Weather connector delivers the sky conditions. So that's like 13 or 14 encoded values that you then have to translate into, if you've seen any weather application, it sort of shows you the actual pictures corresponding to those. I think they call them radar codes that the app delivers. So I want to actually create a component for the radar codes that translate them into the actual picture. So, just some extensibility capabilities for components, but the use of this thing is mind-blowing overall. I just love the fact that that components were introduced into Power Apps. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to actually have to learn JavaScript. So one of the things that I would like to see is eventually the ability to consume Power Apps components in model-driven applications. Right now, we can sort of consume Power Apps component framework components in model-driven. I would like to see the reverse, which is consuming Canvas components, also leveraging those into into model driven. So I know eventually that story will also converge. So hopefully we get to see some of that stuff in the near future. And I think I've exceeded my time amply. So I thank you guys for your time here and the fact that you allowed me to present some of these things today.
Hey man, that's no problem. That's no
Yeah.
problem, dude. I think we're all sitting here now, a little bit agog, wondering what on earth we're all going to do with our web design skills.
Well,
And what happens next? I think you killed it, man. Totally.
yeah, that is amazing. For the web development, PCF is going to actually replace that. And I think that what you're talking about, having controls and model driven that actually can be used and reused with Canvas, that
Yep.
actually that is coming. And yes, we need to learn React and then how to use it, with the
Correct.
CLI. But I think components is actually the best thing, because you can group those controls and actually have the specific logic. I think that's a lot better than the PCF. Even that the PCF give you a lot more flexibility to build
Yep.
it and package it and sell it if you want to. I think from the perspective of reusability, this one is a lot easier and faster.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Amazing demos. Actually, I will steal that one, the one that you have for the map. I need that
Oh,
one
thank you. Thank you.
for
Yeah.
for yesterday.
I'm gonna definitely put that one on the Power Apps community application gallery. So just look for it next week. It should be out. The full application will be out there. So just look out for it.
Okay, thank you.
But thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. So now we have a very, very honoured and special guest, who is just mind blowing that she is the Microsoft cover girl on the Microsoft website. Right. So there's a whole bunch of MVPs and there's a whole bunch of people at Microsoft, and I reckon that you could probably count, like, on one hand, the amount of people in our Twitter community that have actually been on the front cover of the Microsoft website, and that is the amazing Lauren Taylor. Hey, Lauren.
Hello, hi guys.
Hello, Lauren.
Crazy.
So, Lauren, you've been building apps, right? You've been building apps for your school. Is that right? Tell us a bit about your school and who you are and what you do there.
Okay, so I'm the assistant principal at Manitou Park. So it's in Tacoma, Washington. So we're about 20 minutes south, maybe, of the Microsoft, 20-30 minutes south of the Microsoft Redmond campus. And we are about 88% free reduced lunch. So our population of students, for the most part, is pretty high needs. We've got a lot of really amazing kids, but that also means we've got a lot of work that we're doing to support those really awesome kids. And that's kind of where Power Apps came in, was I needed to just do more quickly. And there was a button that let me do that. So I did it.
So, like, I'm right in thinking that you've got absolutely no time. And whenever we try and schedule a session, it's like, what are you doing, Lauren? And you're like, I'm going to help some kids and stuff. And I'm like, go and do that. We'll do the Power Apps later on.
Yeah.
So this is, I mean, for me, like, I love this story because it's somebody who's in a business, who's got a huge amount of work to do that's not Power Apps, and they are going to Power Apps when they need to do something that they would have done in Excel.
Right.
So they're trying to reduce technical debt, and this has been just like incredible. So how did you get started? You just clicked on the button and that was it, or?
No, I actually got started because I think last summer I somehow came across Flow. I don't know how. Oh, I was in Office 365 and I was just clicking on just different things in there that I hadn't used before. And Flow was something that I hadn't used before. And I ended up uncovering this big error that was like district-wide, apparently, because I couldn't get it to work. So I kept asking different people and it kept going higher and higher up. and they ended up having to fix something on our end of things. And so I was talking to, I can't remember his name right now, someone on the Microsoft end, and he goes, oh, well, what you're trying to do with Flow, you'd love Power Apps. And I literally just laughed him off. I was like, there's no way I can make an app. You know, I'm a teacher. This Flow thing is already like, maybe. And so I just really didn't think about it afterwards. And then I was putting in some information, or I was in SharePoint making a list, and then right up there, you know, where it's like click and turn it into a Power App. I'm like, oh, that's what this guy was talking about. So I clicked it, and there was an app right there. And I go, oh, maybe I should have listened a month ago. But either way, here we are. So I think that was about July of last year. And then we actually rolled out our first app in October. So it was pretty much that quick, really.
Amazing. And tell us about your app. Tell us about this app and what it does.
Well, do you want to see it, or do you want to?
Yeah, you can show it. I mean, if you're up for showing it, there's no pressure.
I'll show you some parts of it. So this is actually, hold on, let me. Okay. 1 second here. Forgive me, this is my first time using Google Hangouts.
Yeah, it was a bit of a challenge the first time too.
On the fly here. I'm just gonna go here. Your entire screen. All right. So this I've updated it since, because I've learned more, so I've updated it. But really, the basic app is kind of this piece here, where we were able to go in and put in students and truly just visualize their reading, their reading ability across the. So before, the system that we'd put it in before, you'd put a student in, and then all you would get was their reading level, and teachers would group students based on their reading level. But the way that this app works is now we can look up any student. And this is just kind of a demo, so this isn't the one that we're using, so there's not a lot of information in here. But now, you know, I know specifically what this student needs in reading, and then I can target their instruction to that. And what was also really nice was this section here to take notes, because oftentimes different people are reading with students at different times. So it's not always the classroom teacher. There might be an interventionist or the para or somebody. And now this is actually embedded in Teams. So, and we have a staff team. So anyone can come in, and as long as they can access Teams and they can read with a student, and they can leave notes and feedback for the teacher. So that's kind of the basics that we have. And so what I'm working on, you know, now is really expanding that into, into being able to do the same thing with guided reading groups, because it's the same situation where you have a number of students, and typically you have a number that tells you what they need instead of kind of some focused content. And now we can say, okay, this group needs phrasing and main idea. Here's, you know, where we're going to put our link for online resources, so we can click and go, and we'll take our notes back and forth. So that was just the beginning of it. It was a very just basic app of click from SharePoint, create an app, all the kids were there, and now we had a way to go back and forth and truly just kind of share with our folks, with our peeps.
Amazing application, an amazing scenario.
Yeah, I like that. That's one that's really close to all of our hearts, you know, like the whole reading thing. And you were kind of like sitting there earlier on today going, oh, my app's not great. And we're like, no, that's really cool. That's so insanely good.
No, yeah, I like her modesty.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here. You guys want to talk about behavior or teaching? I'm all over that. You want me to share about apps? I'm like, I don't know.
and even that you had it in Teams now, that's even better, because actually you're the forefront on, you know, the application implementation and the layer for Teams. That's amazing.
I mean, Teams is what really helped me to feel comfortable actually sharing it with the staff, because we were already using Teams. Had I said, here's an app for reading, that actually wouldn't have sold. because it's another thing, and teachers have a million things that they're doing. And now I'm saying, here's another thing, or I'm asking you to put it on your personal device. And there's not, you don't always feel too good about that in teaching. So Teams is what made it work.
Yes.
See, so you just cracked the adoption problem, Lauren. Like,
Yes.
as well. Not on top of everything you've already done.
Yes,
you're cracking adoption.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's what 90% of my job is, trying to help teachers to feel comfortable doing what they're already doing. And that's really what this was. They were just it was so fragmented and it's so time consuming. And if I'm going to create an app, then I want to create it so that it keeps me or it keeps teachers in front of kids and not, doing whatever else, rifling through papers or something like that.
Yeah, 100%. So what was so now you're an app builder. What was the reaction of your colleagues and your family and staff and everything? I mean, that must have been a bit of a surprise.
Well, it's funny because I think in my personality, I just I see a problem and then I solve it. And I truly don't think that anything that I do is really that big of a deal, because I'm like, but to me, Power Apps, I pushed a button and I made an app and people are like, oh, you made an app? Oh my gosh. And I'm like, no. I don't know anything about any of those things. I pushed a button and I made an app. And now, I think just kind of becoming part of the community and seeing the ability, I mean, it gives you this kind of fight for it, right? Where you're like, no, this app can do this thing and it's going to do it. And that's kind of where I am now. And the app that I showed you was I took the one that we had and I'm making it. I mean, I learned some things right in the first one. I mean, y'all, I had a different app for every single grade level because it was like click, push button, but now I've learned where I'm just making one. It's kind of called the School Command Center is what I showed you. So now, and it's one app and anybody can go in. But I've just learned so much. And I'm like, oh, this can be better.
Yep.
Show me the magic. Show me the magic.
I love how you have the board behind you that says, if you never try, you never know. And I think that's exactly what you did. Now you're a star and you're paying it forward. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Oh,
big time paying it forward. So what's next for Lauren? What's the next step?
The next step in terms of apps, I have that one coming out. I have another a check-in, check-out app. So this is actually helping us. We do check-in, check-out, where each student all throughout the day is scored depending on their, how they're doing in class. They might be struggling behaviorally. And then at the end of the day, they check out with the same person in the morning they checked in. That's kind of their person. And all of this was just paper. They're sheets that look like this, and you go in and you score at math, reading, all of that. And all of those papers are turned into one person who sits and enters the scores on an Excel. And then once a month she has a day where you can't talk to her because she has to put all the data in. Yep. And it's the day before the meeting. So that was actually one that I was like, hey, I want to build this. And I jumped on with Keith, who helped me. So I'll show that one to you guys here real quick.
Oh, this is our smiley face one. Yeah.
By the way, lots of love from everyone in the chat. Everyone's saying amazing story. They're really happy to hear this. So yeah, thanks for sharing.
So this is our. Can you see? Am I sharing? Am I doing it right?
Yes.
Okay. Fine. So this is our check-in, check-out app, and so you can go in and teachers just click and they enter the scores for the date. And they might put in the student's name and their grade level. Oh, it's not.
Very low.
And maybe their points earned. So maybe they got 15 points and the goal was 30 points, so then it's.
Yeah, that's really good for me.
Help me do. And then I'm like, sometimes you learn things and then you go, okay, just put that away for later. Don't try to do anything with it now. So that's what it becomes. So then you might say, rough morning, got it together.
That's right. Yep.
So then once you, save, at our homepage, because this is the other piece, viewing the data from the check-in, check-out was only a monthly experience at a meeting. And now you can do it daily.
Look at
That
that.
is
Embedding
nice. Look at
Power
that.
BI and Power Apps.
Wow, that is amazing.
Now my question is, what the person is going to do with all that time, that you just freed up?
I know what they can do. They can learn some machine learning and AI and put that stuff to use on that data set.
Right.
Yep.
I guess they can spend more time in teaching.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's exactly
That
what
would
it
be
is.
awesome.
The person that was doing that, she's our family liaison, and we need her. I mean, she's the one we call. Like, we just had one of our apartments catch on fire. 4 apartments in the complex, so that's 4 of our families, and so she spends the majority of her time trying to get them clothes and food and furniture. Wow. And really, do I need her down for a day to enter data in Excel? Not really. I need her getting those families in a home. So
wow.
Yeah, there's a use case for you. So how about, I mean, so I'll put my hand up and help. So if anyone else wants to steam in there out in the community and help Lauren with whatever, I suggest you go and do it, man, because what she's doing is a template for everywhere else, for all the other schools, for all the educational authorities. I mean, I was looking at the UK, I was looking at my kids' school, and it's paper.
Right.
No, and not only that, this can actually applies for her on her local school. But how many schools do we have in the U.S.? How many schools do we have around other countries that actually they're doing almost exactly the same thing,
right,
and they're still going on paper? If we can actually help them out and put it on the community, and then go talk to those schools and actually help them out getting those applications that actually can work for them, that will be amazing. I think that's going to be a community service that we can do all the time.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot in technology about the importance of education and the importance of XYZ when it comes to learning and stuff. But, how many people are actually going to step up to it and do something about it? So I think it's incumbent on all of us to pay it back and pay it forward. That's for sure, 100%. Lauren, tell us, please, what it was like when you walked home and to that beautiful husband of yours, and you showed him that you were going to be on the Microsoft website. Just describe that to us, because we're all dying to know. Was he like, what?
Yeah, I mean, it was all, we're still there. We still are like, how did this happen? I mean, it's just one of those things where you wake up and you're like, okay, they're going to realize I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, they're going to say, oh, she has no idea. So that's why I keep reaching out to all the community members, because, I mean, as I learn more, obviously, I want to share more of that. But there's just so much out there to learn. And I've listened, and I don't get stuck in tutorial purgatory. Yeah. But there's a lot to be learned and a lot more efficiency that can be had as far as in education, to keep teachers in front of teachers and to keep me in front of students and parents.
Yeah. There are very few people in this industry who don't suffer from exactly what you mentioned there, that imposter syndrome. It's really super commonplace. And as soon as you become comfortable with turning around, putting your hand up and saying, I don't know everything, but I know a bit about this thing. Yeah. And even then I don't know everything, and I'm okay. I'm happy with saying I don't know. Yes. Then you're almost 100% of the way there to being really successful at it. And anyone who turns around and laughs at you for not knowing something, not afraid.
You have a lot of friends that can help you with it.
Yeah,
100%. There you go.
Could I ask a quick question of Lauren? So since you've built this, have you had any interest from any other schools or anyone else from like the school board to kind of expand your footprint?
Yeah, I actually have. So, I have friends obviously that are at other schools that want me to help them with it. That's actually kind of my, I guess, struggle right now, is being able to it's easy, it's easier for me, and I can show a teacher who's in my building, but actually showing somebody who's never done anything, like this before, and helping them to roll it out, that's kind of like a, hey, let's go to Starbucks, type of situation. And then also too, I want it to be, I don't mind rolling it out to a teacher, but then other building leaders, it's really got to be something that's natural to your building, right? And so for me, that was putting it in teams. But if your staff isn't in teams yet, then maybe our conversation is a little bit different. So it's different for everybody. I know at the district level, there's interest in the reading app. But that's also something that, taking time for that conversation of this is how I built it. This is where I see it going.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Another question from Gilbert on the chat was, what were your learning resources apart from Keith? Who else? Just share with us, how did you, if you were stuck at some place, what were your learning resources for Power Apps?
Oh, all the addicts. Just hashtag, I don't know how to do this. Here's the screenshot and hashtag it. And anybody who's awake
Literally
will help you. Brian Dang and Samira have been, the people that kind of introduced me to the world of Power Apps. I've already had chats with Keith, everybody, anybody, Vivek. Everybody.
Yeah. That's a good answer.
I love that. That's it. Yeah. It's just the whole thing just blew me away. From start to finish. And I'll tell you one thing about Lauren Taylor as well. And I'll go on record saying this. And I've been on record saying this before. I've done many screen sharing sessions with people, giving them instructions over the screen, not controlling their mouse with what to do. And Lauren is by far the fastest and brightest. So she's just like, and it's done. And I'm like, there's none of that pain. No, click on that button. No. The
so
one
she's
that says,
the Power Apps ninja.
She's an absolute natural.
Well, that's good to hear, because I felt like I was just trying to keep up. Every time he said something, I'm like, okay, I think this means this. Push this button.
No, I don't know what it is about people in education who build apps, but there's a few of them, Mr. Dang, and
Yes.
yeah, they got some skills. I'll tell you that for nothing.
Well, and the most important thing, they're not afraid to start building and actually using it, which is
Right.
some of the biggest problem that I see on people. They build something, they think that they resolve the issue, or the scenario or the problem, but they never share with anybody.
Right.
And I think that's one of the biggest problems, with other people. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, massive congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done.
All right. Okay, I guess we didn't cover this in the start, and let's give these guys the two newly minted MVPs, Mr. Keith Watling and Mr. Abe Saldana. Congratulations, guys.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yes.
Just share how does it feel now to be an MVP, and how just share your story.
Do you feel cold?
No, on the
You feel
contrary, I changed my stack on my emails. Now it's, instead of being Abe, now it's Abe MVP.
There you go.
So I had a really nice conversation with everybody on my company, because we have a bunch of MVPs in the company, and they were not expecting me, even though that I've been doing a lot of presentation in the community, and now that I've been doing like almost 10 app in a day, 6 with Microsoft and 4 for specific customers. So, and it's really happy that, I finally got the MVP. And, I've been working so much on that. I have a couple mentors that I have to, give a little bit, a shout out and thanks. Pablo Peralta is actually the one from the Hispanic community. He actually told me what was my problem with my submission. I forgot to put URLs on my videos. Imagine that. And I forgot to put URLs in every time that I actually do a speaking engagement for the community. So please put all the information on your submissions. That was my mistake.
And before you submit the last day, just go and count up your views and plug those into.
Exactly. That's another big area that I completely missed all the time. Most of the time I think it was like me not being constant on the submission, every single month that I had something, and then, not keeping track. I think that was actually one of the biggest problems that I have, not keeping track on all the things that in community events that I was actually doing. And then now I'm a little bit more organized now. Now I have a notepad, and then I'm writing everything.
But you know what I've noticed about you guys? You guys have been MVPs without the badge. Now you have the badge to prove it. But that's how you start. You start by being an MVP without any recognition or any credentials. And you
Yes.
guys have done that massively.
And one of the things, they always told me, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So don't even burden yourself about not having the award. It will come. And yes, it takes sometimes, but the problem is, on my case, I was not putting the effort. I was actually not focused on all the things that I have to put in. So, but I feel good. Yay!
Welcome to
the club.
Thank you.
And then there's Keith, who had everybody in tears with the video. Man.
The wee man, yeah. He was very excited that Daddy got a box, because Mummy normally gets boxes, but this time Daddy got a box, and everybody wanted to watch Daddy unwrap the box. So that was very good, and it's up here next to No Drama Llama. Yay, there it is.
There you go.
And I'll tell you two strange things that happened that day, right? So, strange thing number one, I was going to do App in a Day the next day at Auto Glass with Martin Lee, right? And Samit Saini. So we all met up that night on the day, like pre-scheduled, like there was no way that we knew, there was no way that, like, this has been months in the planning. And there we are, the three hombres that started together, terrified of meeting one another, because we were so scared of what, like, one another knew and how good their apps were, and we all were like totally, like Lauren described, like total imposter syndrome. We've all been invited to MBAS, we're all going to talk, we're all going to go on stage, and I'm like, I was really scared of meeting Samit, man, because I was like, dude, this guy's done all these amazing apps at Heathrow Airport, and I've like done like this handful of apps, and Martin's got like 30 or 40, however many apps it was, and I'm like, no, it's terrifying. Like, I was so scared. So hanging out with those guys was great. I will never forgive them for making me get that drunk that night, and having to do App in a Day the next day. That was hard. That was a lot harder than it should have been. So bad Samit, bad Martin. But the best bit of that day, better than getting MVP, was the tweet and email from Samir that Lauren had got on the Microsoft website. That was it for me. Like, I'd been saying this whole thing, like people going, "Oh, you're going to be an MVP, man." I was like, look, I'm not. I'm not. They don't make ginger people MVP. Like, that was my raison d'etre, and I insist now that no matter what would have, I would have done exactly what I'm doing now, whether this thing had happened or not, and I would have carried on doing it, because it's that thing when people smash through that glass ceiling like Lauren did that give me the buzz. So that's what it's all about. And if you have to ask yourself why you're doing it, and that's not your answer, then you're doing it for all wrong reasons.
Wow.
100%. So yeah.
That's powerful.
Highlight of my year, man. Lauren, not the MVP thing.
I think it's some what kind of echoes just being part of MVP is, like you said earlier, like you guys were our MVPs before you were minted. Like, it's kind of like we look up to each other, and it's really what the Power Addicts say. Is we uplift each other. So I take my hat off to you, man. Thank you for helping me, and for everyone else. You are such a treasure to our Infinity Glove. I don't know what color you are, but we'll find you a special power. But man,
come on, man, that was all you guys that helped me anyway, bro. Like we all came through this together. Some people were further along the journey, like the marathon that Abe was describing, and it's just you come together, and it's as a team, it's managed to happen. Anton, you know, it's like it takes a village, bro, as always.
Yep, it does.
Yeah. Man, what a hangout today! I'm so glad that we had Mariano showed us that crazy. I'm downloading that, man. So definitely I'm gonna go find that and use it on my own. Lauren, your story is touching. I mean, it's the story of all of us. Like we just kind of, I think most of us kind of just happened to find Power Apps, and it was something that we were not looking for it. It kind of happened to just fall in our lap, and we've all just fallen in love with it. And you know what you're doing is definitely a power addict, activity, which is crazy. And then these two guys who get minted for MVP, I kind of a little choked up about it because I know I understand the road, I understand how hard it is, and I understand sometimes when you're not necessarily what you're looking for, but sometimes it's just kind of frustrating because you're doing it from your heart. So it's something that you chase. It's something that it's not a reward. It's an award. And everyone is not rewarded for what they do. You are chosen and you are awarded. So anyone who's looking for MVP, those are some things to kind of live by. But before we go, I think we have time to give shout outs to some people that are doing great things in the community. So I'm going to sit back. I'll be last, but let's go with Babette.
Hey, before we do a shout out, I just wanted to share the update on MBAS. So MBAS, if everyone doesn't know, the Business Application Summit, it's in Atlanta, Georgia on June 10th and 11th.
Mm-hmm.
And do we want to? And there's a hackathon before that. So the pre-day, there are a lot of workshops, admin in a day, Power App in a day, Flow in a day. But there's also the Hack for Good hackathon, for which the TDG guys are coming all the way from UK to US to do the hackathon. So if you're going to be there at MBAS, make sure that you register. We put the links for both to register for the hackathon. We put all those in the description and the chat as well. So do not forget. And do you want to make the announcement for the next month?
You know what?
What do you guys think about that?
You can make the announcement for next month.
So next month, as we do our hangouts on the second Tuesday of every month, that happens to be at MBAS. That's 11th or 12th. I guess I'm 11th. Yep, 11th. So 11th June, we'll be at MBAS. Me, Keith, Geeta, Anton, Abe, you as well? Yes.
I will be there.
Yep.
I'm
So
already signed up.
most of us will be there, and we'll do a live hangout from MBAS. We'll share the updates. We'll share what's new, what's coming up. We'll share everyone's experiences from MBAS, and we'll share all that live with you from MBAS. So watch out for that.
Awesome.
It's going to be a party, and you're missing it.
Yep.
Yeah, you know that. So I got some shout outs I want to give. I want to say, like, Megan V. Walker, MVP, newly minted too. You've got to check out this girl's content. It's absolutely insane. She's focusing on Teams Pro at the moment, and what you can do with that thing, it's unbelievable. And she's going through it in detail. It's great content. Obviously, the TDGI guys for the hack that we did last weekend, the little mini hack, which is a precursor to the Hack for Good, which might have a Templates for Humanity theme. Just saying. And Peter Venstra as well, another great blog to check out. One of the Flow MVPs and a fellow user group leader in the UK. He's got some crazy good stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Anyone else got any more shout-outs?
Who's next? Who's next?
Was that shouting out, or was it gone quiet?
Yeah, that was the awkward silent moment of the hour.
Right.
Yeah, we were just interiorizing what you were saying, Keith.
Give you a chance to write it down. Yeah. I've got the most important thing written down, which is dynamics.com/insider. Yeah, that's the one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead, and anyone else wants to give any shout outs before we end the call?
Yes. To all the power addicts out there, I think this community is better because it's not only those of us who are on this call, but everybody who contributes and volunteer their time and just makes this community better. I've been engaged with the Dynamics community for such a long time, but this is just a fresh breath of air for me, and I'm certainly enjoying this ride. Definitely, it was great having you guys like you all on the call, on the community, on looking out for each other. That's what it's all about. Just keep it going, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing actually. Just
how come?
Just coming in from the complete outside, I feel, and being one of the only ones doing what I'm doing on my end, it can be really frustrating when you're doing something that you're just not familiar with at all, and you get stuck and you don't even know who to ask because no one is like, well, I'll have to learn that to teach that to you. And so the community has just been amazing. It's been just really invigorating. I've already said it before, the work that I do is really hard. And so something like this is really refreshing for me to be able to build and create something and have a community just kind of be my supporters and cheerleaders. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. I have one shout out to give to someone that is close in the community here in the DMV or DC, Virginia, Maryland area, and his name is Jamie Willis Rose. Right, Jamie is all over the place. I remember meeting Jamie at our first Power Apps UG here, and I've kind of watched him from the sideline, and he's doing great stuff. So I just want to say, Jamie, like, keep it up, and the world's watching you, man. You're doing well.
Yeah, he's a good guy, man. He's really good.
All right. Well, I think if no one else has any more shout outs to give, we are going to hang this hangout up, and we'll hook up sometime next month from MBAS. So, man, thank you all, and let's keep kicking butt. Bye.
Yep.
See
Bye.
you soon.
Bye.
Don't miss the party.